Good morning. I'm Matthew Johnson, Senior Minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Rockford, Illinois, and whether you are joining us live at 10 Central on August 23rd, 2020, or later, welcome. Whether you're a member or friend of this congregation or another Unitarian Universalist congregation, welcome. If you are exploring religion anew because you need worship today, welcome. Whether you are frightened or grieving, or determined or curious or sad or furious, grateful, hopeful, wondering, welcome. Whoever you are and whatever brings you here, welcome. We're coming to you from the sanctuary at the church. With me today is Tim Anderson, my colleague in worship and the music director here. Autumn Powell, our office manager, is at the back of the hall running technology for us today. Lindsay Dunn, our director of religious education, has today off. Our worship associate, Joe Morton, has pre-recorded their testimony, which you'll hear later in the service. And Chris Ainsworth, our membership manager, is at home. We'll be chiming in on the Facebook feed. If you're watching on Facebook, there's a comment area, and we invite you to comment, particularly say good morning, say hello, so we know who is with us. It's great to see your names pop up on the feed. Remember that the Facebook feed is public, as is the video for worship. So we will worship together. I'll ring the bell, and we'll begin. This month, as we've been exploring the theme of creation, we've been singing the great song, Morning Has Broken. And I invite you to sing along with Tim at home as we sing together.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
So glad that you are here for worship with us. If today is your first time with us, or if you've just been exploring worshiping with us online over the recent time period, we are especially happy to have you with us today. We are planning a new member program for those folks who are new to the church, whether you started worshiping with us before March or have just joined us since and want to know more about this congregation, what we believe, what we do, and how we live together. We invite you to participate. So let Chris Ainsworth know, our membership manager, that you're interested. There's a visitor form. She sent out invitations to folks who filled out those forms, but maybe you haven't and have been watching and want to get involved, so let her know. We've got some videos for you to watch in advance, and then we'll have an online session and an outside at the church, socially distant membership ceremony in September. So we'd love to have you join us and find out more and be part of supporting what we are doing here. The flaming chalice is the symbol of our faith, a beacon of truth, a fire for justice, and a warmth for the soul. In a moment, I'll light the chalice here at the church, and you might light your chalice at your home if you have one. We'll speak together first the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and reason is its guide. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to serve human need. This is our covenant. And now we'll sing together our chalice response song.
May love shine forth through us today. May light of reason guide our way. May beauty, truth, and joy become a flame that burns in every one.
I invite you to breathe in and breathe out. Notice the trees, the roots that go down to the earth. Feel through your feet the earth. Notice the leaves that sway in the wind, the grass that moves. Feel the wind, the spirit of life flow through you and bend. Notice the branches, the way they reach out for the sun, for life. Notice the seeds and the pollen, the acorns and the pine cones. New life spread out, waiting for the right moment to grow. Notice the trees and the grasses and all the earth, which is you, which you are part of. Feel the earth. Feel the spirit, the air. Reach out. Breathe. 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 Let us worship together.
Gracias por el amor del cielo, gracias por el inmenso mar, gracias por el cantar del bosque, aleluya. Gracias por el amor del mundo, gracias por la felicidad. Gracias por toda mi familia. Aleluya. Gracias por toda la hermosura. Gracias por nuestra juventud. Gracias por la amistad de todos. Aleluya. Gracias por este nuevo día. Gracias por nuestra gran unión. Gracias por todas las bondades. Aleluya.
Our story today is I'm in Charge of Celebrations by Byrd Baylor, pictures by Peter Parnell. Sometimes people ask me, aren't you lonely out there with just desert around you? I guess they mean the bear grass and the yuccas and the cactus and the rocks. I guess they mean the deep ravines and the hawk nests and the cliffs and the coyote trails that wind across the hills. Lonely? I can't help laughing when they ask me that. I always look at them surprised. And I say, how could I be lonely? I'm the one in charge of celebrations. Sometimes they don't believe me, but it's true. I am. I put myself in charge. I choose my own. Last year, I gave myself 108 celebrations, besides the ones that they close school for. I cannot get by with only a few. Friends, I'll tell you how it works. I keep a notebook, and I write the date, and then I write about the celebration. I'm very choosy over what goes in that book. It has to be something I plan to remember for the rest of my life. You can tell what's worthy of a celebration because your heart will pound, and you'll feel like you're standing on top of a mountain, and you'll catch your breath like you were breathing some kind of new air. Otherwise, I just count it an average day. I told you, I was choosy. Once I saw a triple rainbow that ended in a canyon where I'd been the day before. I was halfway up a hill standing in a drizzle of rain. It was almost dark, but I wouldn't go in because of the rainbows, of course. And there at the top of the hill was a jackrabbit, was standing on his hind legs perfectly still, looking straight at that same triple rainbow. I may be the only person in the world who's seen a rabbit standing in the mist, quietly watching 3 rainbows. That's worth a celebration anytime. I wrote it down and drew the hill and the rabbit and the rainbow and me. And now August 9th is Rainbow Celebration Day. And I was lucky on Coyote Day because out of all time it had to be one moment only that a certain coyote and I could meet, and we did. Friends, you should have been here too. I was following deer tracks, taking my time, bending down as I walked, kind of humming. I hum a lot when I'm alone. I looked up in time to see a young coyote trotting through the bush. She crossed in front of me. It was a windy day, and she was going east. In that easy, silent way coyotes move, she pushed into the wind. I stood there, hardly breathing, wishing I could move that way. I was surprised to see her stop and turn and look at me. She seemed to think that I was just another creature following another rocky trail. That's true, of course, I am. She didn't hurry. She wasn't afraid. I saw her eyes and she saw mine. That look held us together. Because of that, I will never feel quite the same again. So on September 28th, I celebrate Coyote Day. Here's what I do. I walk that trail, I walk that day, and I hum softly as I go. Finally, I unwrap the feast I brought for her. Last time, it was 3 apples and some pumpkin seeds and an ear of corn and some big, soft, homemade ginger cookies. The next day, I happened to pass that way again. Coyote tracks went all around the rock where the food had been, and the food was gone. Next year, I'll make it even better. I'll bring an extra feast and eat there too. Friend, I've saved my New Year's celebration until last. Mine is a little different from the one most people have. It comes in spring. To tell the truth, I never did feel like my New Year started January 1st. To me, that's just another winter day. I let my year begin when winter ends and morning light comes earlier the way it should. That's when I feel like starting new. I wait until the white-winged doves are back from Mexico and flowers cover the hills and my favorite cactus blooms. It always makes me think, I ought to bloom myself. And that's when I start to plan my New Year's celebration. I finally choose a day that is exactly right. Even the air has to be perfect, and the dirt has to feel warm and good on bare feet. Usually, it's a Saturday, around the end of April. I have a drum I beat to signal the day. Then I go wandering off, following all my favorite trails to all the places I like. I check on how everything is doing. I spend the day admiring things. If the old desert tortoise I know from last year is out strolling around, I'll go his direction a while. I celebrate with horned toads and ravens and lizards and quail, and friend, it's not a bad party. Walking back home, kind of humming, sometimes I think about those people who ask me if I'm lonely here. I have to laugh out loud. I hope you find things to celebrate, days to notice. Let me share where we're at and what's happening in the congregation. We will continue to worship online for the foreseeable future. We had a board retreat yesterday out in the parking lot. We sat in our lawn chairs and talked about our goals for the year with your board of trustees and agreed together that prioritizing the safety of our staff and the whole congregation, everybody, was the first priority in managing our response to the pandemic. And keeping you safe and keeping us safe means worshiping online. So we hope you will continue to join us for the foreseeable future. We are having programs and events. Some are online. Some small groups are meeting outside at the church or other places, or gathering for walks, doing outside safe things. And so there are some opportunities to do that. Look in the Kairos for those opportunities and engagement, or speak to Chris if you're interested in some of those possibilities. We do have exciting book discussion coming up. On September 2nd, we're going to discuss the book Justice on Earth, which is a book about commitments to ecological sustainability, racial and economic justice from Unitarian Universalist perspectives. And we'll be joined by one of the authors of that book, the Reverend Adam Robersmith, for that conversation. So we hope that you will read the book, even if you haven't read the book, or even just the chapter that Adam wrote, which is about how to not give in to despair, a very timely topic. You're welcome to join us on Zoom for that wonderful Wednesday conversation, September 2nd at 7 p.m., and we'd love to have lots of you there. We are spending this month thinking about creation, and that means thinking about our green sanctuary commitments and our partnerships. Today, we're giving 80% of what we collect to the Sierra Club Northwest River Valleys chapter. They told me they changed their name, and they told me what they're up to, which includes working on the new Clean Energy Jobs Act. After the scandal with ComEd bribing legislators in the Illinois legislature, they had to go back to the drawing board to have a clean energy bill that included ethics protections to prevent that kind of thing, and that's just come out. So we'll be pushing in the legislative session in the spring for a Clean Energy Jobs Act that will make Illinois the forerunner in clean energy work in the United States. It's very exciting, and the Sierra Club is taking the lead statewide on that, and you can get involved with their work. They're also working to stop some major hog farming upriver for where most of us live, which would really destroy our river. So if you're interested, talk to Rebecca Quirk or Stephen Hall, members of this congregation who are active in the local Sierra Club chapter, about their work. And I hope you can be generous in our offering this morning, which will now be given and received.
Hi, I'm Joe Morton, the worship associate for today. As many of you know, my fiancée Jennifer broke her leg in February of this year skiing. Now that isn't me, isn't my broken leg, but I live with Jennifer, so it's caused a little bit of chaos in our life and a lot of fear. And on top of the COVID-19 situation, just a lot of uncertainty, and it's been a little bit challenging for me to deal with some of these things. On top of it, I am trying to grow a business that I have, and I hired an employee this year, and that in itself was very scary. I made a huge mistake on a design that I did earlier this year, and then in May I took on another huge project, which was completely overwhelming. So the first half of this year has been very chaotic for me in multiple ways. One of the ways that I deal with the stress is I try to focus hard on the gratitude. It has to be a daily practice in my life. As I've alluded to in previous testimonials, I am in 12-step recovery. I'm a recovering addict of 7 years. And many people in these meetings, the 12-step meetings that they go to, they announce to the group, "Hi, my name is John and I'm an addict." I used to do that a long time ago, but for many years now, I announce myself as, "Hi, my name is Joe and I'm grateful to be living a life of recovery." And to me, that carries on a completely different tone. It is me thinking about the positive. It is me thinking about the person that I want to be, and that is extremely helpful for me in comparison to when I identify myself as an addict. That's just a label that I don't want to have. In recent years, I've gotten into the occasional practice of writing gratitude lists. And what I have found is that these are pretty miraculous. I recognize that I have a lot to give, and I have a lot of blessings in my life. And when I sit down and write all of the blessings in my life, it really makes it hard for me to focus on the negative. And what I've found when I write these lists, it taps into my heart and makes me feel a sense of comfort and serenity about my situation, and it really puts things into perspective. And right now, Jennifer and I are actually embarking on a journey of it's a 27-day blessings list that we're working on out of a workbook called The Magic, which I believe was authored by the person who authored the book The Secret. And if you don't know what those books are, I highly suggest you check them out. This is my last worship associate testimonial for my 2-year commitment, and it's been a pleasure serving the congregation. Love you all. Bye.
We lift our hearts in thanks today for all the gifts of life, and first for peace that turns away the enmities of strife, and next the beauty of the earth, its flowers and lovely things, the spring's great miracle of birth, with sound of songs and wings. Then harvests of its teeming soil in orchard, croft, and field, but more the service and the toil of those who helped them yield. And most the gifts of hope and love, of wisdom, truth, and right, the gifts that shine like stars above to chart the world by night.
Two readings this morning. The first is from my colleague and friend, Sean Parker Dennison, who we heard a reading from last week as well. This is entitled, In Praise of Praise. And I lost my bookmark, but that's okay, because there's a table of contents. Praise of Praise. Somewhere in here. In Praise of Praise, page 22. Here we go. Yes, even now, when so much is broken, praise tears that will not be held back, witness to the immeasurable beauty of the smile of a 6-year-old gunned down by those who praise nothing. Yes, even now, when so much is at risk, praise the blood that pulses its systole and diastole rhythm, dancing to and from the heart, even when the sky is smoke and our masks have become an ordinary necessity. Yes, even now, when so much is struggle, praise bodies that sweat and tremble, muscles tense with embodied comprehension that we are headed in the wrong way, and the irresistible urge to change direction, a glorious, clumsy, prodigal return. Yes, especially now, when so much is at stake. Praise something, anything, so alive and extravagant that awakens and calls you to discard despair, abandon apathy, and praise whatever brings you back to life. And the second reading from Mary Oliver, entitled Snow Geese. Oh, to love what is lovely and will not last. What a task to ask of anything or anyone, yet it is ours, and not by the century or the year, but by the hours. One fall day I heard above me, and above the sting of the wind, a sound I did not know, and my look shot upward. It was a flock of snow geese, winging it faster than the ones we usually see, and being the color of snow, catching the sun, so they were, in part at least, golden. I held my breath, as we do sometimes, to stop time when something wonderful has touched us, as with a match which is lit and bright but does not hurt in the common way, but delightfully, as if delight were the most serious thing you ever felt. The geese flew on. I have never seen them again. Maybe I will someday, somewhere. Maybe I won't. It doesn't matter. What matters is that when I saw them, as through the veil, secretly, joyfully, clearly. I invite you, wherever you are and whenever you are, to join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Great Spirit of life and love, in this moment, this delicate turning, this moment fraught with worry and anxiety and hope and concern, be with us. Invite us always to the deeper understanding, the deeper love, below the surface, past the headline, past the first glance, to another or to ourselves. Invite us deeper, to open our hearts and our minds, to ask questions, to wonder, to suspend judgment and seek truth, to suspend judgment and seek love. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, be with us in our hoping, in our struggle, in our worry, in our thanksgiving, in each day and every hour. Amen.
I've got a roof over my head. I've got a warm place to sleep. Some nights I lie awake counting gifts instead of counting sheep. I've got a heart that can hold love. I've got a mind that can think. There may be times when I lose the light and let my spirit sink, but I can't stay depressed when I remember how I'm blessed. Grateful, grateful, truly grateful I am. Grateful, grateful, truly blessed and duly grateful. In a city of strangers, I've got a family of friends. No matter what rocks and brambles fill the way, I know that they will stay until the end. I feel a hand holding my hand. It's not a hand you can see, but on the road to the promised land, this hand will shepherd me through delight and despair, holding tight and always there. Grateful, grateful, truly grateful I am. Grateful, grateful, truly blessed and duly grateful. It's not that I don't want a lot, or hope for more, or dream of more, but giving thanks for what I've got makes me so much happier than keeping score. In a world that can bring pain, I will still take each chance, for I believe that whatever the terrain, our feet can learn to dance. Whatever stone life may sling, we can moan or we can sing. Grateful, grateful, truly grateful truly blessed and duly grateful.
Wow. Having Tim as our music director here at the church is one of the things I'm grateful for. Thank you, Tim. To love what is lovely and will not last. That is the task we are given, says the great poet of observation, Mary Oliver, who elsewhere, when she asks herself if saying praise for this world was worthy of her one wild and precious life, answered herself, what else should I have done? To love what is lovely and will not last. Yes. Yes, writing before the pandemic, but during inequality and injustice, racism and transphobia, ecological collapse, last year's forest fires in California and Oregon where they live. We send our prayers to those in California today. Yes, Sean Dennison writes, yes, especially now when so much is at stake, praise something, anything, so alive and extravagant that it awakens and calls you to discard despair, abandon apathy, and praise whatever brings you back to life. You can moan or you can sing, writes the composer John Bocchino, and though nothing's perfect, and you might want more, or things to be different in this way or that way, he writes, I am truly blessed and duly grateful. And said, it was good. For the last 4 weeks, we've taken our title each week, part of the account of Genesis in the Hebrew Scriptures from Genesis 1. It was morning, it was evening, a new day. And God said, it was good. Said, it was good. I spend the day admiring things, writes Bert Baylor in our story, and friends, it's not a bad party. Lonely out here, he is asked. I laugh out loud. How could I be lonely when I'm in charge of celebrations? I love that story. I adore it. And the truth is that we are lonely, aren't we? Already, before March, we already confronted an epidemic of loneliness in this country, people disconnected from their neighbors, most folks with very few friends. Oh, they might have lots of friends on Facebook, but actual, real friends, people you can tell your secrets to. Less and less. The hollowing out of social institutions, clubs and congregations and social organizations and so forth was part of this loneliness. It has been accelerating since the middle of the 1980s, and now it's all so much worse. We see each other in little boxes. That's how you see me now, if we see at all. Or we see folks outside, maybe, and no hugs. And a part of us dies each time we cannot connect. Some of us face that perverse and strange loneliness that happens when you are with someone all the time, but the only person that you interact with all day is a toddler or a teenager. And the hollowing out of our institutions today accelerates as we cannot gather. We feel no sense of unity, no connection. Something our worship associate last week, Nikki, said has been rolling around my mind this week. She said, my anxiety has anxiety. Ain't that the truth? Individually, for many of us, and socially, as a people, for sure. We're scared and upset and frustrated and troubled. Our anxiety has anxiety. We are facing a national mental health crisis. A recent survey by the CDC indicated that 30% of primary caregivers, parents of children and those caring for their own parents, had experienced suicidal ideation since the pandemic began. 30%. That number rocked me back. At first I thought, whoa, that's high. But then it seemed to me on reflection that this is not a surprise. This is hard. The things that keep us balanced, that give us hope and wonder and joy, the things that help us manage, friends, routine, joy and travel and vacation, even if it's just a little ways. Classes where we learn things, volunteering with other people, exercise, church in person together, singing together. All these things have been restricted or eliminated. So this is hard. For some of us, for some of you, it's really hard. For those who have marginalized identities, who are battling not just this pandemic and loneliness, but also racism, sexism, homophobia, ableism, so much harder. And so if I come to you and say, it was good, or say, you are truly blessed and should be duly grateful, just that, it feels cheap, insulting, tone deaf. And so much of what happens for gratitude practice in popular culture is that, cheap and insulting, tone deaf. I get particularly annoyed by the phrase you sometimes hear, there but for the grace of God go I, as if God decides who suffers and who doesn't. That's not a God for me. Here's what I'm not interested in. How are you? Oh, I'm fine. We're living through a national trauma. We're not fine. It's not fine. I'm not interested either in, well, it could be worse. Yes, it could be worse. That's absolutely true. But there's no verve in that, no power of life. Also, not helpful, not really. I'm distracting myself with television, alcohol, social media, whatever it might be. There's a time for distraction, but don't let it become you, is what I'm saying. Don't let it become you. What I'm saying is that we need to go deeper, underneath the surface. We need to name and cultivate and encourage what is good, what is worthy of fighting for, what deserves our attention and our care. We need a deep gratitude practice, a praise of something that makes us feel not better, but alive. Not better, but alive. Do you hear the difference? Not a thanksgiving that makes you feel better, but a gratitude that makes you feel alive. This deep gratitude doesn't deny any of the pain or suffering or trouble that we face. It doesn't paper over challenges or turn its back on despair. It digs deeper. It looks further. It's not a temporary salve, but a deeper way, a way that teaches a new way to live. I tell you, friends, that I am still working on this. I do not have it down. I think it's lifelong work, to be honest, and that's okay. I come to you as not an expert, but a student. But there are things I've learned. Some of them I've learned from you. You begin with noticing. I keep a notebook, our story narrator says, and I write the date, and then I write about the celebration. Not every day. 108 last year, he says. 108 last year. You notice. You notice the light and the animals, the way the wind feels. You notice. Go deeper. Notice. The way the snow geese are illuminated in the light. Our task is to love what is lovely, even though it doesn't last. Notice. Notice the details of it. The shape of the tree, the line of your lover's face or the sound of your child's laughter. They don't laugh all the time, but sometimes they do. So in that moment, notice. Something that makes you come alive. Notice. Notice when people are decent to each other, when they are honest and loving at the same time, when they treat folks with respect. Notice when the clerk is kind or the customer, and say, "Thank you for being excellent today." Choose to notice kindness. Choose to notice kindness. Choose gratitude. That's what I love about the song Grateful that you heard. It is a choice you make to notice. Watch how that choice shifts the world just a little. Notice. Notice when people do the work to build a better world, when they put themselves forward as a candidate, as a leader, as an advocate for justice and fairness. Notice when people rise up, when they come together. Notice and have hope. People are rising up. People are waking up. Is it everyone? No. Is it exactly what you want? Of course not. That's not what it's about. It's not what it is. That's not how the world works. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. That's a cynic's game, to make the perfect the enemy of the good. Instead, seek the good. Seek the good. Notice it. Notice those who try. Get knocked down, get up again. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've struggled and you've been through hard times. I was speaking earlier this week, like I do most weeks, with someone who's been through hard times. And they're going through a moderately hard time right now, but not the worst they've ever faced. So I asked the question that chaplains are trained to ask. What helped you get through last time? And they had an answer to that question. A spiritual practice that had been helpful before when times were hard. So try it again. Maybe it'll work again. We've been through things, and we know what works to get through. Reach out, a phone call, a letter. Find something good in each day, something worthy of noticing. Remember that there will be another day. Give thanks for what you do have. Cry, rage, weep, be mad. Don't hold that stuff in. Feel your feelings. And only when you feel all of them can you get under the surface to find the resilient, beautiful ones there too. And know this too, it's enough to get through the day. That's enough. Indeed, that's enough to sing praise for, to say thank you, I'm grateful. Some days are hard, and it's enough to say it's evening, the end of a day, tomorrow is a new day, and that's good. I think sometimes we try too hard. Let me be specific. Sometimes I try too hard. I know I'm not the only one, though. I got into ministry because I wanted to have a transcendent sense of meaning, powerful conversations, and change lives and change the world. And some days, I spend trying to schedule meetings, putting account numbers on receipts, and searching in vain for a reading that I like next week, or at least that I don't hate too much to use. I want to have experiences of awe and wonder every moment, but I don't. 108 last year, says our story, and that's good. Like 1 out of every 3 days, that's really good. That's a lot, actually. Is this real for you too? You're searching for things that are amazing, and it's just another ordinary day? Or it's the March 2020 that never ends, and what is there to be grateful for? The art of noticing and not making the perfect the enemy of the good invites us to say, just another ordinary day. That's something to be thankful for. You don't have to be Mary Oliver to lie down in the grass and be glad to be alive. Anybody can do it. Just another ordinary day. That's the creation story. Sure, things get made each day, but the big takeaway is it was a day, and it is good. Because creation is good. And so to live is good. Another day is good. Look to this day, the very day of days, as the saying goes. Just an ordinary day. If we notice it, if we pay attention. Ordinary comes from the root word order, of course, a day in order, one after the other, from an old set of words referring to a set of threads in order on a loom. It's the original root. It's the same root as ordain, to set in order, to proclaim, to mark and notice. In the Christian church, one speaks of ordinary time, not Advent, not Lent, not Pentecost, ordinary time. We're in ordinary time. August is the only month in the United States without a major holiday. You just go on. The ordinary days go on. And so we are invited to let them slip one after another, or to notice them, to notice each other, the earth, the moments of joy, wonder, pain, healing, hope, and notice, and thus ordain the ordinary day with praise and thanks. It was good. We lift our hearts in thanks today for all the gifts of life, and we name them. Gifts of wonder and beauty, gifts of love and mercy, gifts of perseverance, gifts of sympathy. The world isn't perfect and never will be, but find a thing that makes you feel alive, not better, but alive, and give praise for that thing. Ordain the ordinary with your attention. Love lovely things which do not last. Sing gratitude. Sing gratitude. And see how it feels to make that choice. Notice how your heart responds when you get below the surface, when you are in charge of celebrations. And I am confident that you will find, friends, it is quite the party. I'm going to sing together, "Oh, We Give Thanks," which is 1010 in your teal hymnal. If you have one at home, we'll put the words up on the screen. I invite you to sing along at home with Tim.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
In a moment, I'll extinguish our chalice here at the church and invite you to extinguish your chalice at home. We will gather for a coffee hour in just a few moments on Zoom, and we'd love to see you there. I think I'm hosting this week, so I'll be there and catch up with you. We'd love to have you join us for that conversation. The words of our benediction are a blessing attributed to the Navajo people. Beauty is before me, and beauty behind me. Above me and below me hovers the beautiful. I am surrounded by it. I am immersed in it. In my youth, I am aware of it. and in old age I shall walk quietly the beautiful trail. In beauty it is begun. In beauty it is ended. We'll sing together our sung blessing.
Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way. Go our way in peace, wander as we may. Blessed is the path we take, may love guide us on our way.
Go in peace.